This is Rob Tebbutt for Boxing Social. Delighted to be joined here today by legendary trainer Nazim Richardson. We're here at the Wilder Fury undercard press conference in Los Angeles. How are you, Nazim?
Holding on both hands, man. Old man moving slow so I can move a little faster, that's all.
That's the first time I've ever had that kind of response to how are you. I liked it. So you're here today. You've got Travis Kaufmann fighting Luis Ortiz on the undercard of Deontay Wilder versus Tyson Fury. Just mentioned to you off camera, your man was looking in some good spirits up there on stage. Had a few things to say.
Well, that's Travis' MO. I mean, there's no phoniness about him there. He's not afraid of anybody. And if you underestimate him, you'll find out real fast. He's not afraid. Think you just bully him, think he's just a little fat white kid. You're just gonna push around. You gotta fight him, and he will fight you back.
How big of an obstacle is Luis Ortiz for Travis Kaufmann? He's somebody who's highly ranked on all governing bodies, one of the most avoided heavyweights of his era. How tough a test is it for Travis Kaufmann this weekend?
Point blank, Deontay Wilder is the #1 heavyweight in boxing. King Kong is the #2. Point blank. Now, Tyson Fury is in the process of trying to do something about that, change that dynamic. But everybody else, the Chisores and the Big Baby Millers and them, they're all talented. But they got to go through this avenue to prove that if they want to be #1, you got to see Deontay Wilder at King Kong right now. Tyson Fury is seeing Deontay Wilder. Travis Kaufmann is seeing King Kong. But them are the two guys you got to see if you want to prove you're the best.
No Anthony Joshua in that equation. Why is that?
Anthony Joshua is one of the most talented. There's a difference between being the most talented guy in the division and being the best guy. At one time, I felt that Roy Jones was the most talented, but I felt Felix Trinidad was the best guy in the division. I felt Floyd was the most talented at one time, and I felt Pacquiao at one time was the most talented, but Floyd was the best fighter. And these things happen, man. You got guys, it's all opinionated, and guys jump on and want to hoot and holler, and you're wrong. And yeah, I may be wrong. If I don't agree with you, then I'm wrong. You know what I mean? You don't agree with me, I don't think you're wrong, but we just have a difference of opinion. King Kong is a serious, serious hurdle for any heavyweight. I see why they're ducking. I know why they're ducking him, and they are ducking. You know what I mean? And especially with him not being the champ, nobody seems to go there. Now, Joshua, he let this fight take place. King Kong and Tyson Fury. Whoever wins this fight is what Tyson and Larry Holmes used to say. They're the baddest man in the planet. Whoever wins that fight is the heavyweight guy. Because either Fury's going to have Deontay Wilder and Klitschko on his resume, or Deontay Wilder's going to have Fury and King Kong on his resume. That's enough on a resume in this division to be the man. You know what I mean? So anybody else got something to say about it, they got to see them guys, not just, oh, Naazim don't know what he's talking about. Yeah, a lot of times I don't. You know what I mean? So you know, that doesn't intimidate me, that statement. But these are the special guys in the division, and you have to walk through that road if you're going to.
What do you make of Tyson Fury's return to the ring? He was out of the ring for 2.5 years. He's had 2 fights by his own accord that weren't the most difficult tests, and now he's fighting a man, in your opinion, who's the #1 heavyweight in the world. Talk to me about that.
Tyson Fury he's jumped some hurdles to get back in place. He has some mental illness. He's been dealing with that issue, you know what I mean? And I hope he stays healthy in that capacity, you know what I mean? I saw him in Big Bear, and he lost a lot of weight, I saw him here since I've got down the hill in California, and he's lost even more weight, you know what I mean? I don't know what the strategy is. Maybe they want to do that to be more mobile against Deontay Wilder. I'm not sure. But Tyson Fury is taking the challenge. He's a big guy. He's a difficult guy to deal with. Klitschko can attest to that, you know. And I said I could easily see him winning most of the rounds, right up to Deontay Wilder knocks him out.
In your experience, when you're somebody with a wealth of knowledge, you've come into contact with a who's who of fighters, how difficult is it to come back from a serious layoff?
I'm in the process of dealing with that. My little cousin, Carl Dynamite Dargan, just had his second fight in the last 3.5 years. He just came back and he's still finding himself. He's still learning how to trust himself again. You know what I mean? And that's what you have to get. You get reacclimated to your skill set. You know what I mean? You make that adjustment, those adjustments all over again. You're learning to trust yourself again. You're learning to take those chances that you once took, you know. And Tyson's got to deal with that. He's got to deal with it pretty quick, too, dealing with this guy.
What do you make of the state of the heavyweight division? It seems to me like the heavyweight division is now vibrant again. There's a lot of people talking about the division, whereas over the past 10 years or so, that hasn't always been the case. What do you make of the current crop of heavyweights?
You have big, talented guys who are facing each other. And a lot of that lies on Deontay Wilder's shoulders. Deontay Wilder came into the game unscathed about the history and the politics of moving this way and moving that way. Deontay came into the game, and maybe it's ignorance. We don't know. Maybe it was his lack of knowing. He just came and said, I want to fight everybody. And he took the fight. The guy fought King Khan because his daughter has some ailments, and he knew his daughter had ailments also. So he wanted to make sure this guy was able to take care of his daughter like he takes care of his. I said, wow, this is a testament to the human being he is. I mean, he believes in himself, and he's been proving himself each time. You know, people saying this guy's better than him, that guy's better than him. Yeah, there's been a lot of guys better than him that he's knocked out. A lot of guys' mechanics are better that he's knocked out. A lot of guys are a little faster that he's knocked out. You know what I mean? Spilka was putting on a heck of a show with that movement and that discombobulated movement and held it for a long time. And then he got knocked out. You know, Deontay's special. He's gifted.
Moving away from the card this weekend, just talk about yourself really and your career. You have an extensive, you're very modest, but let's talk about your career. Most notable fighter that you've worked with, among others of course, is Bernard Hopkins. Talk to me about your relationship with Bernard Hopkins from where you took him to where he ultimately ended up.
Well, my thing is working with Bernard Hopkins, phenomenal fighter, you know what I mean? Great talent. Great learning curve. This guy literally learned how to fight. And when you see that, even opposed to gifted fighters that are gifted, as they get older, the gift can slide. But so we're not as fast as we used to be when we were in our teens. But every one of us remember that ABCs that they taught us because we learned that and we went over that and we practiced that. And that became a part of us and we keep that. And Bernard learned how to box like that. And he's kept it for a long time. And the level he reached, it's a little intoxicating. When you start getting that high level where Oscar and these guys are, it's a little intoxicating. And that's for every young fighter to learn that and learn to know when to walk away. The greatest thing of this era, we talk about, this era was better and that era was better. The one thing that this era is going to prove to be superior over any other era of boxing, you had more elite fighters know when to walk away at the right time. You had the Floyds, you had the Andre Wards, these guys said the Madonnas, these guys left at the right time. You know what I mean? And that's what we always talked about in boxing, but this is the first era where it's happening in abundance.
So by that rationale, do you think Bernard went on too long? Obviously the last time he was in the ring was a defeat. Do you think he went on too long in his career? He achieved more after the age of 40 than most fighters can ever dream of in their entire career.
Well, my thing is, it's not for us to say what's too long. My only problem with that when people ask me is that Bernard talked the most. I've heard him really come down heavy on fighters staying too long. He commented on Oscar staying around till he got beat up. He bashed Sugar Shane Mosley for staying around too long. And it's okay. Listen, if you walk across the street and get in a fight and you lose, there's no shame in it. You fought, you lost. That's been happening since the beginning of life. If you sit here and talk all this stuff about how you'll never lose to a guy across the street, then you walk over there and get lose. Now you can be clowned. You know what I mean? Now you can be clowned. And that's the only reason I think people ever take digs at him. I really thought he was going to leave on top. I really did. I didn't understand the Joe Smith thing. I wasn't involved with it. I found out he was fighting through reporters. He never called me. He never contacted me about the fight. So I found out he was fighting the guy. And he had the right, because contacting me, he may have felt, me and him have had conversations. Looking over at me may have been a reminder. My eyes could have reminded him why are we doing this? Who needs to do this? You know what I mean? And he didn't need that. You know what I mean? That I would have been responsible maybe for him having such a bad outing. You know what I mean? So he went in there with a free, clear mind. Everybody was on board. His team was behind him. Everybody's 100%. They gave him the information that they gave him, and it led to the result that they got. It's boxing.
Did that upset you at all? You've been on such a long, storied career with Bernard Hopkins. You've been with him through highs and lows, and you weren't there at the end. Was there any element of regret on that part for you?
No, there wasn't regret or upset me in that sense. What bothered me is the way he went about it. You know, because I'm the most understanding of his scenario. He could have came and told me, man, I know you don't want me to do this, but I'm going to do this. And I've been in full support, man, because I'm supportive of any man who's taking his destiny or taking his path to where they want to go. That's your choice. Especially in this business, that man deserved to go out any way he wanted to. If he wanted to go out on his shield, he deserved that. He deserved that right. He earned that right. But from when I talked to him, that's not what he was saying. But then he went out and proved that that must be the way he wanted to go. So you can't get mad, you can't get upset about it. And as a matter of fact, in a way, if we look at it, he may say, hey man, listen, I know I may wind up on my back, and they gonna hold you responsible. Maybe I'm gonna let you sit this one out. You know what I mean? So they won't be looking at you when this guy spread me out like Miracle Whip. You know what I mean? No, but that's what I'm saying. I wish him well.
As I said, there was an awful lot of high points of your relationship with Bernard Hopkins. Is there any one in particular that stands out? Is it the Pavlik? Is it the Trinidad? What is it that stands out from your time with Bernard Hopkins?
Maybe it could have been Trinidad, for the simple fact that I supported him. I was a big believer in Trinidad. Trinidad was one of my favorite fighters. And I remember having an argument with Bernard one time when he said Trinidad hadn't fought anybody. And boy, we went at it. And Bowie, the late great Bowie Fisher had to break up the argument. Because I said, hasn't fought anybody, I said, let me tell you something. And that's why I came up with that statement. I said, Trinidad pound for pound is the baddest thing in boxing right now. And if you want to be pound for pound the man, you got to go through him. Because Trinidad is it. I mean, he moved up in division and was still annihilating people. He's the man. I mean, if you want to prove to be best man, them guys who want to jump divisions and still carry that talent, they're special guys, man, you know what I mean? And for him to beat Trinidad the way he did, my brother started teasing me, he said, man, listen. He said, I think Trinidad beat him up because of the way you kept pushing Trinidad in Bernard's face. He said, I think Bernard beat him up a little extra because you motivated. I said, I don't know, but Trinidad was special and Bernard proved to be more that night. And it was an impressive win. It was a lot of energy surrounding it because of 9/11.
You mentioned it there. Was there any element of you that was a little bit of kidology, psychological mind games with Bernard Hopkins to kind of get him up for that fight? Was Bernard that kind of guy where if you mentioned a Trinidad, for example, he would want to show you that he was the better fighter and that would motivate him more?
We were getting ready for the Trinidad camp. We were in camp and every time he came in my room, I was watching Trinidad and Jabi. He said, what are you trying to intimidate me watching this tape everywhere, Trinidad and all that? I said, yeah, but Jabi shows you something in this fight. Jabi jab I felt wasn't as good as Bernard's. Jabi was hurt, and his jab still kept Trinidad off balance. So when he came to me and said, well, how are we going to beat this guy? I said, we're going to use the jab. Well, he cussed me out for like an hour and a half. You think he ain't never had a jab? And his thing was, when he went out and jabbed in the beginning of the first round, it wasn't so much to support me. It was to say, hey, look, I showed you ain't know what you was talking about. But when the jab landed, and then he kept jabbing, well, Bernard is a quick study. It wasn't going to take him long. He had no problem. I'll accept this direction and do what we got to do. And he kept jabbing him, and he kept Trinidad off balance and was able to hurt him later. But the psychological thing with Bernard Messer to play mind games and all that. And I ask people, does he throw a right hand? That's a throw left hook. I mean, the mind games only go but so far. You know what I mean? You got to fight the fight, too. And that old dude used to fight the fight.
Do you think Bernard Hopkins is underappreciated? Do you think he gets the due credit he deserves? And where would you place him among greats of his era? So your Roy Joneses, your Floyd Mayweathers, Manny Pacquiao, James Toney, those kind of guys. Where would you rank him? And do you feel that his legacy is where it is or where it should be?
The problem with ranking Bernard is that what era do you rank him in?
What weight class?
Yeah, but more so the era. You know what I mean? Do you rank him in the era where Jobby and Keith Holmes and those guys was? Do you rank him later on down the line with the Roy Joneses? Would he fought beyond that? You know what I mean? At some point in time, you got to rank him with the Kelly Pavliks and all these guys. You know, I think he's gotten his due. You know, like Merchant said something to him one time. He said, "Bernard, you were so angry at one time." And it was rightfully so. You weren't getting treated justly. He said, but now you're getting the money, you're getting the accolades, but you're still being angry.
Another talented fighter that you worked with, Shane Mosley. Was he the most naturally talented fighter that you'd worked with?
No, I wouldn't say he was the most naturally talented. His gifts were extraordinary. The most naturally talented fighter I worked with hasn't made any noise yet. You know what I mean? Matter of fact, we're just getting him back to boxing. You know what I mean? But Shane was extremely gifted and tenacious and competitive. Like, you have fighters that fight because they have heart, grit. Some just want money. And Shane just wanted to prove I can beat the best guys. And to his downfall at times, he would take a fight with anybody. I had another guy who was just like that, Steve Cunningham. They'll take fights that they don't need to take. You know, but Shane would take a fight. If you call one of these young guys out now and start talking about how great they are and ask Shane if he wanted to fight him, Shane would fight him. Which he shouldn't. You know what I mean? But I'm going to say, what I said this about Shane Mosley, I said this about Steve Cunningham. And I also say about Shane's son. They're great human beings that just happen to know how to fight. The fighting is second to the human being that they are. They're greater people than they are fighters. And that tells you something about Shane and Steve, because they were world champions. But they're greater people than they were fighters.
With Shane Mosley, I mean, you've alluded to it there, the fact that he had this willingness to moved up in weight to fight Oscar. He really would test himself throughout his career. Winky Wright.
What was that about? Winky, my man, too. Why he went up and fought that big man, I have no idea. That was supposed to be left alone, man. But he went up, and Winky thanks him. Winky to this day will give you full credit. He gets full credit because nobody would fight Winky at the time. He gives Shane full credit for stepping up and taking on that fight. Yeah.
Do you think Winky Wright is somebody who receives the proper accolades really for his career? Do you think he's underappreciated? He's a terrific fighter, but I personally don't think he gets his just dessert.
Boxing, when these belts broke off and you got all these belts and you had the added weight classes, there's going to be fighters that were great that are never going to give their due. I'm going to tell you a fighter doesn't get his due. Gennaro Hernandez. Phenomenal fighter. You know what I mean? But people, and in Gennaro not getting his due, I felt as though Floyd got slighted, because if we really paid attention to Floyd beating Gennaro that young, it was a blueprint to his career. It was showing you how special this guy, for him to beat Gennaro, and he had something like 13 fights, something crazy like that. That shit, yeah, that's crazy. He was an outstanding athlete. But Winky gets undercut a little bit. You know what I mean? Quite a few guys are going to get that. You know what I mean? It's boxing.
Final word on Shane Mosley. You were there on the infamous night with Antonio Margarito. Tell me a little bit about that. I mean, I've read plenty of things, but this is the first time I get to hear it from the horse's mouth, as it were.
The thing about Margarito is I really was impressed with Margarito as a fighter. And I watched him and I was studying him for the Shane fight. I started noticing little things like he could punch you anywhere. The top of the cranium, the elbows, and that's unheard of. I don't care how you wrap the hands. You hit the elbows and respond. So I was wondering about how hard this guy punches. But to this day, I'm still trying to figure out what the hell he have in his chin. I heard fighters say, I'll die, you have to kill me, and Margarito's the only one that ever said it that I believe. You have to kill Margarito before he would quit. When Shane dropped him, he was getting back up. The corner threw the towel. Margarito's just a special guy. And I feel bad for him. And they said that his coach was responsible for the things in his hand. But my thing is, if he did him a disservice, because Margarito's a hell of a fighter. I mean, he did him a disservice. I mean, because he's special without that. I mean, all that did was make him infamous. I mean, but yeah, Margarito, that night was a heck of a night. I thought I messed up the fight because I thought they was gonna lock him up. I thought that was attempted assault. I thought they was gonna lock him up. And our guy was in the great shape. We knew Shane was in that fight. My first fight working with Shane physically. And in camp, he was responding to everything we asked of him, he would do. And I said to myself, I remember calling home, talking to my family, I said, listen, I'm responsible because this kid give me everything I want. I said, now, I don't know if he'll ever do it again. He may just be showing off to try to reel me in. But I'm going to take advantage of it, you know what I mean, because see where we'll go from here. And he did. He was eating something that he ate all his life. And he asked me, Nazim, you don't want me eating this? I said, son, go ahead, you've been eating that all your life. What you talking about? But that showed me his commitment. Going into that fight, I wanted them to see him because I knew he was in phenomenal shape. And he had the game plan down to a nail. And I was glad he got the opportunity to fight, so they got a chance to see that.
He went on from there, of course, to fight Floyd Mayweather. Do you think that fight would have been different? I mean, they were discussed to be talking about that fight when they were both at lightweight. That fight, by all intents and purposes, didn't happen for whatever reason. Do you think that fight, the result of that fight, would have been different if they'd have met at a different point of their career?
Yeah. I mean, but that's with anybody. I mean, you had Hopkins fight Roy at one point in their career, and then for another point in their career, there's a difference. You know what I mean? That's boxing. You know, we all wish we could fight the guys when we're at our peak. Sometimes we can't. You know what I mean? So you take the fight when you can get it, or don't take the fight. I said something about that fight. Happened to me twice in boxing. Shane cracked Floyd with a heck of a shot in the second round, buckled him. Floyd showed you how great he was by responding to it. Next thing you know, all you saw was Shane cracking Floyd. And I told Shane, I don't think that's right. I said, I don't think that's right because you crack a guy and you hurt him, but the guy comes back and beats you. And then all the people want to see is you cracking him. I don't think that's right. I wouldn't want, here's the reason why I say I don't feel it's right. I would be upset if you did that to my fighter. I'd be upset if my guy came out and you cracked him and my guy got off the canvas and beat you. I'd be mad when they just keep showing you cracking my guy. I was saying, Deontay said something to me. He said, man, they showed David Hay crack me, but they won't show the whole workout. What I did to him after. I said, yeah, that's what that's like. It's not fair. I don't care if it's my guy or somebody or my guy, the one cracking the other guy. It's not fair. And I've told Shane that. I've told Steve Cunningham that with the Fury fight. Matter of fact, with the Fury fight with Steve, if you watch the fight, Steve hits him with a better shot after he gets up. He wasn't hurt with the shot he went down with. He was hurt later on because Steve hits him with a shot and he grabbed Steve. Now he hit him with the right hand again and really hurt him. And he grabbed Steve and never let Steve go after that. And I'm a little worried. All the fights, Tyson Fury got mad at me once because I said you're a big man. And he kept talking about this, that, and the other thing. And they went back to me and I said, you're a very big man. He said, oh, you're just trying to say because I'm big? And I'm like, oh, pretty much. You know. Now he's developed and he has some skills. He has some movement. I don't know if those moves actually get him in a better position to punch. He was just moving around Klitschko. He wasn't actually landing the shots. But I said, yeah, I said, you're a very big man. Now, in me saying that, he's giving up some of his size in this fight. So if these skills that they've yelled about are there, they'll be there Saturday night. You know what I mean? If not, you know that he was the much bigger man. When Klitschko finally saw a man bigger than him, he lost. You know what I mean? He beat Steve with his size. He beat Steve Cunningham with his size. You know what I mean?
Final words on Floyd Mayweather. I think by all accounts he's likely to return to the ring in 2019. Certainly the rumour is that he's looking at a potential rematch with Manny Pacquiao. We've spoken in this interview about fighters kind of going on too long. Do you think that would fall into that category?
I hope not. I think he's gave us all that we deserve. I think he's put on the show, he's put on the performances. He's taught these young boys how to steal money and keep it. You know what I mean? How to get it legally and keep it. And we admire him for that. I'd rather see him, Mr. Schaefer.
How are you?
How you making out, young fella? All right, my man. I'd like to see him teach these young guys how to leave the sport with their faculties and their bread intact. Like Andre Ward has done. Andre Ward, they've been dogging about coming back. And you feel that bite to come back. I told Ward, he said, Nazim is rough, man. He'd be calling me, especially working with the contender. Kids was teasing him every day. I said, Ward, when you turn retirement into an opponent, then you're going to do to it what you did to every other opponent. Once you make retirement opponent, it's going to get beat up like everybody else got beat up. And he said, yeah, I'm gonna try to do it that way. But you just got to love the kid. They're great examples for boxing. Do what you're going to do, get what you're going to get, and go. I mean, nobody does this forever. Yeah, I wish Earl Campbell was still running. Hell, they don't even have his football team anymore. I mean, they don't even have the Oilers no more. They didn't turn them into something else. But yeah, we still like to see Jim Brown get that ball handed to him and break down field. It's simple. That's why I say celebrate them, enjoy them while they're here. Boxing's like a lesson for life. You know what I mean? Your parents, your grandparents, your aunts, your uncles, sometimes they talk a little long, sometimes they tell you the same story over again. Celebrate them now. Everybody want to run and decide who's going to bring what flowers to the funeral. Give them the flowers now. Celebrate and enjoy what we can have while it's here. When it's gone, then we want to sit around and talk stories about it and how great Ali was. But you guys was ridiculing him. He went through years of ridicule. I mean, celebrate these guys while they're here.
So with that in mind, I mean, we've just spoken about kind of Floyd potentially fighting Manny Pacquiao. How do you feel he would fare if he were to come back? And would you prefer to see him come back, if he does indeed come back, and fight an Errol Spence or a Terence Crawford or a Keith Thurman? Or is that kind of out of the picture? Is that past the realm of possibility in your point of view?
Listen, what I'm not going to do, I've done it enough, and anybody who's still doing it is foolish. You're not going to underestimate this kid in any capacity. Leave that out the door. I'd rather not see him come back. I'd rather for him to teach Errol Spence, Terence Crawford. You're undefeated. Fight the fights you want to fight. Get this money during the era you can get it. Retire. I'd like for them to learn how to lead a game in a proper fashion. This era was the best that's ever done it. Tim Bradley walked away when he needed to walk. Mandana walked away when he needed to walk. Ward walked away. These guys walked away at the right time. It wasn't always undefeated, but they walked away at the right time. And Floyd do it too. What's Floyd going to do? What's he going to come back and do that's going to impress you more than what he's done? That's what I told Ward. I said, what are you going to do that's going to be more impressive than what you've already done? And if that's not the case, the job is done. I mean, if your job is to sweep the living room, well, damn, when all the paper and everything's up off the floor, you just keep sweeping? It don't make sense. You know what I mean? It doesn't make sense. When the job is done, there's a time of rest. That's a life lesson. When the job is done, you see them old timers lay back and close their eyes. When the job is done, it's time to rest. You know what I mean? And I pray he does, man. Because people want to see him come back until he does lose. Him and Pacquiao with a second fight. Pacquiao's an exceptional talent. That stuff he just did not too long ago, coming back and looking like he turned the clock back. It's remarkable. Pacquiao can do what he gonna do. He's a legend. He's gonna be a legend always. Floyd can go do what he got to do. I mean, y'all fought already. I mean, guys, go ahead. I like to see Pacquiao leave on top. I mean, bad bull. He gave us all the excitement. What we wanted. Pacquiao gave you everything you want to see in boxing. Even the guys who haters, the haters who hate him, he gave them what they wanted to see. Pacquiao, there's nothing in boxing Pacquiao didn't do except for get disqualified. He did everything else you want him to do. I mean, what else can he give you, man? He can't raise your children for you. You know what I mean? He can't paint your house. He gave you everything you needed, man. Take it and roll. I mean, somebody will come along and keep on entertaining us. You got little Machinkos out there, man. You got young boys climbing. We got Tevin Farmers and all them guys coming around. Lil Tank and all them guys. They floating around. You got Carl Dargins and all these guys. It's some young boys still coming up to do some stuff. We got to move on and start celebrating them.
With that being said, I mean, we've just mentioned two of the names there, Terence Crawford and Errol Spence. That seems to me to be the next super fight in boxing. Promotional politics aside, that's a fight that I think every boxing fan would want to see. What's your view on that fight?
Phenomenal fight. Great fights are made when one has all the attributes to beat the other, and they both carry that. You can see if Errol Spence beat Terence Crawford, you wouldn't be surprised. Terence Crawford beat Errol Spence, you wouldn't be surprised. Power, speed, IQ, youth, talent, it's everything you want to see. I'd rather see them fight each other than Floyd coming back in that mix. I mean, yeah. And they will eventually, because ain't neither one of them afraid of nobody. So you'll get in the long run. When all the business of boxing finally gets put to the side, you'll see them mix it up.
Who would you give the edge to in that fight, purely from a speculative point of view?
It's not an edge. Like, okay, when you see Mikey Garcia and Errol Spence, you can clearly give an edge to Spence being a bigger guy. Okay, in the Crawford fight, there's no edge like that. You would say Spence seems to be known to be a better body puncher from what we've seen. Crawford has faster feet from what we've seen. So there's no edge. When you say one thing, I can say another thing. When I say another thing, and you know, the people get to arguing in these interviews. We put our chin on the line. We put this stuff out there, man, and people cuss us out for 11 days. You said Errol Spence and body punch. We can't think of everything when the camera's in our face and the microphone's on us. There's plenty of stuff I'm going to think about these guys when I walk away from them. You know what I mean? But what I have here, phenomenal fighters, not just good, phenomenal fighters. And we're learning more about them. We're learning more about them. Like I said, we knew these guys were special. We're learning even more about them each time they come out. They're the kind of guys that whenever they fight, it'll switch who's pound for pound. I mean, he fights Saturday, he's pound for pound. The other guy fights next Friday, and then he becomes pound for pound. They're talented like that.
You mentioned pound for pound. You've also just mentioned Vasyl Lomachenko. Is he the best fighter in the world?
Vasyl Lomachenko is one of the most dynamic fighters. Very creative style, very exciting style. Right now, like I just told you, pound for pound, Deontay cracked Fury Saturday, he's pound for pound. If Fury cracks Deontay, he's pound for pound. Lomachenko come up and fight the next weekend, it's going to keep switching. All of these, and then that proves to you how great the time is of boxing. It proves you. We have a tendency in our culture, whenever we got two great guys, we always want to measure them and just say one, especially where I grew up. If you get a LeBron and a Carmelo, Carmelo's better than Carmelo Anthony's better than LeBron, and they go Dwayne Wade when they came out of school together. A lot of people don't do that. I noticed in hockey, they celebrate Brett Hall and Wayne Gretzky. He don't have to be better than Wayne Gretzky, and that's what we need to do. We got several guys that are outstanding. There's enough love to celebrate all of them. In the pound for pound thing of fight. Whoever wants to be pound for pound mostly is going to have to do the most fighting. Going to have to be the busier guy.
I like that. I like that as a rationale for selecting that. Just lastly, something that I've heard you go on record talking about before, and I'd just like you to tell me really while we're sat here. You're somebody who you've worked with your Bowie Fishers. You've come through a time with, Eddie Futch was still around, Bill Miller, legendary trainers, George Benton. Do you feel that it seems to me like training has become more so these days than it has been in the past, more of a young man's game. Do you see that as a detriment to the sport? Do you think that's a positive, or do you just think that's kind of the way the sport is at the minute? What do you make of kind of the state of training, I guess, is what I'm trying to say.
What's my brother's name that's got Earl Spence? And I don't just mean to disrespect him anyway.
I'm jet lagged, so I can't think.
Phenomenal job. Phenomenal job. And there's a bunch of young trainers out there doing. There's a guy named Hamza Muhammad, comes out of Philadelphia. Phenomenal. Does a great job. Throwback to the old school.
Derek James,
my man. And I apologize to him for not, because trust me, I'm an old dude. I ain't gonna forget it too many times, man. Because he's doing such a great job. How do you not see him? How do you not recognize Robert Garcia and what they're doing, man? I mean, taking nothing away from the Freddie Roaches and John David Jackson. These guys all doing a great job. You know what I mean? And Randy Shields and these guys, man. You're not ignoring these guys. But there's some young guys out there really doing their thing. I got Rasheem Jefferson out of Philadelphia. He's working with the young kid, Tevin Farmer. I remember taking Rasheem Jefferson to the Junior Olympics. You know what I mean? Now this guy's just training a world champion. So this is boxing. Youth always excels in sports, any capacity, any way, shape, or form. Somebody's going to come along younger and do it as good, if not better, because the baton is always handed to the younger guy. You know what I mean? My son is doing a great job. He's got such a rapport with the athletes. You know what I mean? So I'm like, shout out to Bear. You know what I mean? So I respect these guys, man. In my gym, we have some great teachers. People like to say, hey, there's no more teachers. All these statements sound cool. You know what I mean? And whenever you're saying something that puts some negative shade on somebody, it sounds cool. We all want to adopt it. I'm not one to want to celebrate what's not being done. I'm going to celebrate what's being done. You know what I mean? And I know young guys that are doing things. I'm going to celebrate them and enjoy what they're doing and give them credit instead of knocking them down and putting your shoulders in. This young kid's coming up here, man. We got a little kid out of Philadelphia. I remember when his daddy first brought him around when he was born, and his brothers was always killers in the game. Boots Ennis. Little phenom, man. Little kid is a monster, man. And it's a testament to what his dad has done. His dad raised a couple of them because all his brothers was dragons. Every one of them could fight. So why not give the credit? I was never built in that capacity where I got to stand on you or dish you or, hey, look, I do this better than you. Man, I'm going to work. I hope you go to work. I'm trying to feed my family. I hope you feed your family. That's where it lies. Because I've always felt if I can't conduct myself, I used to say a prayer when I was young and say, God, I'll look out for as many as I can. You look out for mine. And he's always done that for me. So that I'm going to continue to roll like that. So the future is bright. Our sport is cool. MMA is not going to knock us off. We ain't got to worry like when Bruce Lee came to America. Though karate was going to run us out of here, we're still in good shape, good way for boxing has still got a pulse.
Okay, well, Nazim Richardson, brother Naazim, this has been an absolute pleasure to sit down with you. Thank you very much for speaking to Boxing Social. I'm going to go now because you're a man in demand, rightly so. Thanks very much for speaking to Boxing Social.
Oh, man, thank you. Thank you for your time and your patience, man.